How's the royal family? I pray that everyone is doing well. Well, my royal family, I'm a bit on the late show. Y'all know we had a discussion yesterday when I did the live stream, so I'm playing a little bit of catch up. But I felt like this was necessary to put up this particular video to see the continuation of the people that played a very major part in the people that were instrumental in killing Ahmaud Arbery. And we see Ahmaud's dear sweet mother in a state of pain. You know, it is really atrocious what this system did to this family. And so the journey that I'm going to take the royal family on is now it's time to deal with the DAs. So I have 4 videos that I'm going to play for the royal family so we can get up to speed. Some of y'all may know, some of y'all may not know, but it's time for me to get on my grind. So let's get into this first video that I felt like it was very necessary. The Georgia Bar dismisses complaints against attorneys involved in Ahmaud Arbery's death investigation. Wow. Check this out, my royal family.
Information now on a case growing out of Ahmaud Arbery's murder. The Georgia State Bar has dismissed complaints filed against attorneys involved in the investigation that ultimately led to the murder trial. News4JAX reporter Marilyn Parker is joining us now. Marilyn, a few Georgia state representatives filed a complaint back in January.
They say former district attorneys Jackie Johnson and George Barnhill violated their public oaths.
Got a little glitch here. See what's going on. All right, let's do a little refresher here, my royal family. We're going to go all the way back. No need to worry. See if we can get this right.
New information now on a case growing out of Ahmaud Arbery's murder. The Georgia State Bar has dismissed complaints filed against attorneys involved in the investigation that ultimately led to the murder trial. News4JAX reporter Marilyn Parker is joining us now. Marilyn, a few Georgia state representatives filed a complaint back in January.
They say former district attorneys Jackie Johnson and George Barnhill violated their public oaths and showed favor to the men who are now convicted of killing Ahmaud Arbery. They also went after attorney Kevin Goff, who represented William Roddy Bryan during the state trial, but the state bar didn't allow it. These complaints were filed to the State Bar of Georgia against former district attorneys Jackie Johnson and George Barnhill following their handling of Ahmaud Arbery's death investigation. These are the Georgia state representatives who filed them. They want Johnson and Barnhill disbarred and reviewed for conflicts of interest and discrimination. The State Bar of Georgia dismissed their complaints.
And I was very hurt.
Over the phone, Arbery's Aunt Diane Jackson says her family was skeptical of the attorneys.
And my family was very hurt that we had people in the system like that. And all the evidence was there, how they did them.
Last year, Johnson was indicted on charges of violating her oath of office and hindering a police officer. In the complaint, the lawmakers say Johnson and Barnhill showed favor to the men now convicted in state and federal courts.
She prolonged the investigation. As a matter of fact, I don't think she would have even taken up the investigation until the video surfaced.
State Representative Sandra Scott says the conviction should have played a role, but says their actions in the beginning of the case should have been enough. What exactly did the notice say?
The notice said that we did not have enough evidence to prove that she had actually violated the law, and we believe that not to be true.
Jackson says the state bar not taking any action is a sign that the state still has a long way to go.
If you saw the evidence, saw what it was about, it was racist. And so you're going to say that y'all going to throw it out? Oh, yes, I'm very upset.
She says getting full justice for Ahmaud Arbery means holding these attorneys accountable. Georgia State Representative Viola Davis sent a complaint against William Bryan's attorney Kevin Goff, requesting that he be censored following his comments about black pastors in the courtroom during the state trial. The state bar also dismissed this complaint. Now, the representatives say they plan to reevaluate the complaint because they think there is enough evidence. You can read the complaints and the Georgia State Bar's full statement right now on news4jax.com.
So, I wholeheartedly agree. Even though the bar threw it out, justice has not been totally served. Why did these, where they at? Demons. How long was they out of jail? Was it well over 3 months, 3 to 4 months? Why was they not arrested? Who made that call? Who had the power to do that? Why they went on with their lives, went fishing and hunting and the things that the enemy do. They true to their nature. And they had a nerve to think that that video would cover their dusty ass. So we're going to get into video number 2. Let me take this down. It gets more juicy. Oh, and I forgot, my royal family. Go get your shit. I should have said that in the beginning of this. I'm slipping. But this is no laughing matter.
There is a new filing in another criminal case connected to the murder of Ahmaud Arbery.
WTOC investigates Jessica Savage has been following the Arbery case since the beginning and explains where things stand today.
For the first time in court filings, we're hearing from the defense attorneys who represent former Brunswick District Attorney Jackie Johnson. Her involvement on the day Arbery was killed is the focus of a criminal investigation. Well, she's accused of directing Glenn County police officers not to arrest Arbery's killer. But her attorneys say there's, quote, not a scintilla of evidence that she hindered any officers from arresting anyone tied to the murder of Ahmaud Arbery. Attorneys representing former Brunswick District Attorney Jackie Johnson are asking the court to dismiss the case against her. In a motion filed March 23rd, defense attorneys say Johnson, quote, immediately recused her office from any involvement with this death investigation on the day Mr. Arbery was killed and did not participate in the investigation.
Satilla Drive at Holmes Road.
Attorneys went on to say hours after the shooting, Glenn County police officers called an assistant district attorney in Johnson's office to ask for advice on the case. Johnson's attorneys say those officers were reminded of Johnson's conflict with Greg McMichael, and because they wanted legal advice, Johnson's office asked Waycross DA George Barnhill to meet with the officers the following day. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation has said Johnson's official recusal letter wasn't received by the Georgia Attorney General's office until February 27th, 4 days after the shooting. Evidence about what happened during those 4 days has not been made public. Well, Johnson's conflict was with Greg McMichael, who is now convicted of murder in the shooting death of Ahmaud Arbery. He was a longtime investigator who worked with Johnson in the DA's office. WTOC Investigates has previously played a recording of the voicemail message Greg left for Johnson on the day of the shooting.
My son and I have been involved in a shooting, and I need some advice right away. If you could please call me as soon as you possibly can.
McMichael's phone records released in his court case show Johnson did not return his call that day. McMichael is serving life in prison for the murder, along with his son Travis and their neighbor at the time, William Roddy Bryan Jr. The 19-page defense motion filed in Johnson's case echoes a familiar defense narrative heard during the trial of the three men. According to the motion, police officers on the scene of the murder believed Ahmaud Arbery was killed in self-defense, and that's why no one was arrested or charged.
Y'all don't put him in cuffs, are you?
No. Why would you be in cuffs?
It goes on to say police maintained that position even after the video of Arbery's killing became public. The release of that video prompted a GBI investigation in May of 2020.
And within 36 hours, we had secured warrants for 2 individuals for felony murder.
Attorneys go on to say Johnson was, quote, cleared of any wrongdoing during the GBI and FBI investigation, and then points to her recorded interview with investigators as evidence. Attorneys also accuse the AG's office of presenting improperly sworn evidence to a grand jury, saying that's what led to a, quote, wrongful return of the present indictment. In a response, a spokeswoman for Attorney General Chris Carr's office sent WTOC this statement, which points out Johnson has been indicted by a Glenn County grand jury. It went on to say, quote, we will file a written response opposing the defendant's motion, and we look forward to presenting our case in court. As of today, the AG has not filed a formal response in court. It's important to note the defense's motion is the first court filing in the case more than 6 months after Johnson's indictment. We have a copy of the motion on our website. Just go to WTOC.
All right. I want to make damn sure y'all get a full picture. Let me go back here. Again, they were judge and jury on the streets of America. And at the direction of Jackie Johnson, that is the reason why they were not immediately locked up. But then when the video came out, it was a stain. It was not a unquote good look. Even though this Barnhill dude said that the murder, he wrote it out, or the literally slaughter of Ahmaud Arbery in the streets of America was justified. Now, these next two videos I'm going to present, we're going to see the level of ignorance, the level of privilege, because we know that Senior McMichaels, where is he at? He made 16 phone calls to the DA. You know, that was her boy. They literally worked side by side. And technically, he wasn't even a cop. He couldn't pass certain tests that they wanted, you know, that they have, the exams and stuff that they have to periodically do retraining, and they would come up with all these different excuses. He's sick, he ill, his wife is this, and all that type of stuff like that. They all down for peer nepotism. So as we continue on, my royal family, let's get into video number 3. After Arbery's killing, 16 calls between DA and shooter's dad. Woo, that's not a good look.
Tonight, a closer look at the evidence prosecutors are offering in their case against former Brunswick District Attorney Jackie Johnson. She's charged in connection with her handling of the case of Ahmaud Arbery in early 2020. The new court records detail her communications with one of the men who has since been convicted in Arbery's murder. News 4 Jax reporter Joe McLean was in Brunswick today breaking down what we've learned.
This is all part of the case against Jackie Johnson, the former Brunswick district attorney. She was indicted in November on a felony count of violating her oath of office and a misdemeanor count of hindering a police investigation. Now, her attorneys filed to have these charges dismissed. And when the state attorney's office responded, it included some key phone records. A total of 16 calls between the phones of Greg McMichael and then Brunswick District Attorney Jackie Johnson, detailed in this court filing. Prosecutors say the first of those calls happened shortly after McMichael, his son Travis, and their neighbor William Roddy Bryan chased down and killed Ahmaud Arbery on February 23, 2020. We got a glimpse of the calls in court leading up to last year's murder trial of the 3 men, beginning with a voicemail left for Johnson by the elder McMichael, who was once an investigator in Johnson's office.
My friend and I have been involved in the shooting, and I need some advice right away. Please call me.
The records show 15 other calls, some appearing to go unanswered, while others lasting several minutes. Prosecutors have argued that Johnson didn't tell state officials that she was transferring the case to Waycross DA George Barnhill until after he had already met with Glenn County Police. The filing said, quote, Johnson failed to disclose, however, that Barnhill had already reviewed the case and declared the case to be self-defense. Thus, Johnson effectively chose the outcome of the case despite having a conflict. Barnhill later stepped aside from the case on April 3rd, and Johnson and McMichael called each other again. The final call between the two was placed on May 5th, the same day that disturbing video from Brian's phone became public. McMichael had left another voicemail on Johnson's phone, thanking her for a referral and for some good advice. The Georgia Attorney General's office has accused Johnson of using her position to protect the McMichaels. She's insisted she recused herself immediately, and her attorneys say there's no evidence she interfered with the investigation. And we're back live tonight. Johnson's attorney did not respond to a request for comment on the new filing. Meanwhile, the McMichaels and William Bryant are sentenced to life in prison on those state murder convictions. And then they are also waiting for sentencing on the convictions for federal hate crimes as well. Reporting live, I'm Joe McLean, Channel 4, the local station.
This is a bad look. This is a stain. And I'm going to play this last video, and I'm going to tell y'all what I think might happen. And this might overlap on some of the things that were said, but that's how I get down here on the True Royal family. And my backup channel is True Royal, because like I said, I want to make sure I get it all, because we get them sweet, extra juicy nuggets. So let's lean all up into this last video.
And thanks so much for joining us for the News at 5. I'm Dawn Baker. Travis McMichael, his father, Greg, and their friend, William Roddy Bryan, are all in prison convicted of killing Ahmaud Arbery and of federal hate crimes charges in the February 2020 shooting. But there are still at least 2 other people under investigation in this case. The Georgia Attorney General's office has its eye on 2 district attorneys who handled this case initially. Former Brunswick District Attorney Jackie Johnson is indicted on 2 counts connected to the murder case. The indictment accuses Johnson of directing Glenn County police officers not to arrest Travis McMichael on the day he shot and killed Ahmaud Arbery. The other DA under investigation is current Waycross DA George Barnhill, who took on the case after Johnson recused herself. No charges have been brought against Barnhill at this time. Tonight, we are learning new details in the criminal case against former DA Jackie Johnson. Our lead investigative reporter Jessica Savage joins us now with new information about calls between Johnson and McMichael, the father of Travis, on that day and leading up to this conviction and the case even starting going through the courts.
Yeah, in fact, there were 16 phone calls that happened from the day Ahmaud Arbery was shot and killed until that video was released. Those calls were between then DA Jackie Johnson, as of course at the time Greg McMichael, who was under investigation. Now, up until this legal filing today was released, we really only knew about one of those phone calls on the day of the shooting. Here's a look. 2 years ago today, that viral video of the killing of Ahmaud Arbery shocked the nation. It's what prompted investigators with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation to look into the case and how it was handled. Details about the investigation into prosecutorial misconduct are now part of a new court filing by the Georgia Attorney General's office. It shows 16 phone calls were made between Johnson and her former investigator Greg McMichael, who worked in the DA's office for more than 20 years. The call log shows McMichael called Johnson almost immediately after the shooting on February 23rd of 2020, and he left her this voicemail.
My son and I have been involved in a shooting, and I need some advice right away. If you could please call me as soon as you possibly can.
According to the prosecutor's filing, Johnson didn't call him back, but she did contact Waycross DA George Barnhill. She asked him to review the Arbery shooting and advise Glenn County Police on the case. Something prosecutors claim is a violation of her oath. Quote, rather, instead of using the lawful conflict procedure and immediately notifying the Attorney General's office, DA Johnson allowed DA Barnhill to render a decision on the case, a decision that she classified as urgent. The next day, on February 24th, Barnhill determined the shooting was justified and no one was arrested. According to the call log, Johnson called McMichael that evening, and they had a 9-minute and 15-second phone call. Johnson's attorneys have said that she, quote, immediately recused her office from any involvement with the death investigation on the day Mr. Arbery was killed and did not participate in the investigation. But prosecutors say that's not true. In the court filing, they contend that she was the DA since her recusal letter to the Georgia Attorney General's office wasn't sent until February 27th. 4 days after the shooting, and that she failed to disclose that Barnhill had already reviewed the case and declared the case to be self-defense. Quote, thus Johnson effectively chose the outcome of the case despite having a conflict under the state code. McMichael and Johnson exchanged 14 more calls after her recusal, the last one on May 5th, the day the video of Arbery's killing went public. According to the filing, McMichael called Johnson to thank her for referring him to a prosecutor in George Barnhill's office for legal advice. Well, by then, Barnhill had recused himself from the case. According to the filing, Johnson didn't answer McMichael's call, so he left her a voicemail that said, quote, he's gonna run interference with me right now, and that's damn good advice, and I appreciate that very much.
Justice!
By then, the video had already gone viral. 2 days later, the GBI arrested McMichael, his son Travis, and their neighbor, William Roddy Bryan Jr., on murder charges. Well, the Glenn County Grand Jury indicted Johnson in March of last year. Prosecutors say that she's not yet been arraigned in that case. Well, we've posted all of these details along.
All right, let me take this down, my royal family, and tell y'all what I think is going to happen. You know, I have often talked repeatedly on this channel about who would be the first to get Yahweh's wrath. And y'all did see the number 17 there, because I know somebody's going to point it out. And they're going to start with the unquote head, because she had undue influence. And trust and believe, when Johnson and Barnhill talked behind the scenes based on whatever conversations and the relationship that she had with McMichaels, her undue influence and her racism and his racism concluded they were judge and jury on this case, and it had never even entered court. So what I think might happen is that they're going to try to do a deal, because she's going to see what she is confronted with. And trust and believe, as this continues on, there's going to be other discoveries, and all the other DAs involved in this are going to sling mud because they want to protect their ass, and they are more than willing to sell her out. She has a lot of blood on her hands, also due to the influence that she had on other cases there, because somebody died up under her watch. Somebodies have died up under her watch. And if they are successful at prosecuting her, it ain't going to be because of Ahmaud Arbery. It's going to be for that other blood on her hand, because those folks that came up dead under her watch look like her. That's just how I truly feel. But they are going to have to make an example, because it left a big, nasty stain. But we are not delusional over here on the True Royal Family that they don't give a damn about the royal family. But at the end of the day, Yahweh, or the unquote divine hand, will have the last say. So I'll leave it right there, my royal family. So what I need you to do is to render your voice with your beautiful divine words. And as always, my royal family, I thank you for your love. I thank you for your support. And with that said, Ashe.